Hi, I'm Eric Baylott. I'm a seminarian for the Archdiocese of Atlanta, and I'm finishing up my pastoral year here at the Cathedral of Christ the King. In general, all of the different liturgies that I got to do were some of my favorites. Just getting to, step into people's lives in these baptisms and weddings and funerals, all these, moments of, intense emotion and intimacy, and just getting to jump in there with those families and be a part of that it was so amazing. Other than that, working a lot with the religious education department was a blessing. I love working with kids. I've been doing it for years, so getting to help out with Life Teen and Edge on Sunday nights, getting to help out with the younger PSR in the mornings, and everything in between. It was so great. One of the most rewarding experiences and interesting experiences was probably doing ministry to retirement communities and the sick. I didn't have a whole lot of experience with that before coming here to my pastoral year, so getting to get experience ministering to that environment was very helpful and very new. So it was about maybe a month and a half into my time here, still very new, was figuring my way out around things, and I'm setting up. I'm in the middle school youth nights on Sunday, getting ready to lead a small group, and Monsignor comes and walks into the room. He's looking around, and he finds me, and he goes, I'm getting freaked out. I'm like, what's going on? And so I walk over and go ask him what he wants, and he's like, kind of directs me towards the elevator, still hasn't told me what's going on. I'm freaking out. I'm like, am I getting kicked out of the cathedral? What did I do? And we get to the elevator, and he turns to me and he goes, Eric, I need you to go to the aquarium for the bishop. That was the last thing I was expecting to hear, and I pause and I go, what? And he goes, Bishop John forgot his collar, and I need you to go give him a collar. And I'm just sitting here going through, I was like, I've never been to the aquarium. Wait, what? I don't have a collar. Where am I getting this from? And in the end, I didn't even have to go. And then we figured it out, and there was somebody there who could handle the situation. One of my favorite moments that I had here, it was the priests versus 8th graders basketball game that I played in. And at halftime, I was going around to see some of the kids up in the stands, and once I entered, the entire lower school erupted. They were reaching out, trying to give me high fives and hugging me, and it was one of the first moments where I really felt completely welcomed and integrated into the community, and it was an amazing experience. Kind of along those lines would be my first few times doing ministry in retirement homes and with the sick, just because it's such a different environment than anything I'd ever been in before. You're going into these people's lives, and a lot of times, things aren't going well for them. And so trying to go in and minister to them, figuring out what's wrong and if there's any way that I can help, and just trying to, be a light in the midst of sometimes some very dark moments was very, very nerve-wracking and intimidating for me to try to do. And I hope that I was able to do it well. A really profound experience for me this year was when I got to conduct my first internment, my first burial service. And I had never done one. I was very nervous, but I went there and I had my ritual book, and I was going through the ritual and trying to be as reverent and as sympathetic with the family as I could, trying to make sure everything was taken care of that they needed. And I wasn't sure, how good I was doing, but the family afterwards, they came up, and so many of them just thanked me for my words. They took the time to come hug me, and it was such an emotional moment where I was trying to stay stoic and be the calm presence amidst this very vulnerable and intimate moment. I'm gonna miss the community. It's such a giant place, the cathedral, and I feel like I still haven't gotten to know a whole lot of people, but there are a whole lot of people that I have gotten to know. And after building up relationships for a year now, it's going to be very hard saying goodbye and leaving. But as the priests here have told me, that's the life. And so it's something that I know I have to get prepared for. It is an interesting experience living with all the priests at the rectory. Everyone, has their own personalities. We're all very different people, but we share this one house together. And it's a fairly big house, so lots of times we won't run into each other during the day if we're hustling and bustling trying to get to our jobs. But we always usually take time to get together at lunch. Lunch is our kind of communal moment of the day. And so we'll all sit down around the table and eat a meal together and just talk about what's going on at the parish, what we've been doing during the day, what's going on in the world, start gossiping, about all of our favorite church topics or whatever is going on in the church today. So it's a really fun time to see everyone's perspective and to see everyone's take on things. And the personalities at the rectory have been very interesting getting to know. Especially one of my favorite things I learned is don't talk to Father Joe before he's had his coffee in the morning. I remember a couple times where we would both wake up kind of early and he would run into me in the kitchen while I was, just starting to sip my coffee. And I'd be like, "Hey, Father Joe, do you have a minute to hear my confession before, the day gets started?" And he goes, Yeah. Just let me get my coffee first, then we'll talk about this. So that was a fun discovery. Oh, Father Juan Carlos is a blast. He's so energetic all the time. Every day when he walks in and sees me at lunch, he's like, "Oh, mijo!" And it's so fun. He's just so happy and energetic when he greets people. It's so great. It's an infectious energy that's really good to have around the house. He's a very good boss. So if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, he's very good about getting serious and be like, "All right, this is where we think that you're not doing well and we need to see some improvement." And so it's kind of jarring at first when you're used to seeing him just be so jovial all the time. But yeah, he has that side to him. Monsignor's a very lighthearted guy. When you really get to spend time with him one-on-one or in small groups, loves being with people and laughing and telling stories and hearing stories, loves getting to know you and what's going on in your life. So great guy to have as a mentor and as a leader here. God willing, if I'm ordained a priest, I think that one thing I've learned this year about my ministry will be I need to make sure to be intentional about where I am in the moment. I like to think ahead and I like to think back on how things could have changed. So one thing I think I need to make sure I'm very intentional about in my ministry is staying in the moment and being with the people and being with the assignments that I'm doing at that moment and giving that my all. Because I know for me sometimes that can be a challenge, and I know that's something that will be very important in my ministry. Overall, something that was really revelatory for me about ministry is that there's no small jobs. Seminarians, I think, lots of times come in with these big ideas of all the things that we can do and all the people we can help in these gigantic ministerial ways. But lots of times the things I did that people seemed the most grateful for were small little tasks, at least in my mind, going and making copies on the copy machine or moving around boxes or redecorating a room. And it was these things that in my mind originally are so small that people were like, "Man, this just helped me out so much. Thank you so much for doing this." I think pastoral years are extremely helpful. And the seminary does an amazing job of preparing us for the priesthood. We learn a whole lot about so many different areas of theology and ministry and history and liturgy, all these things that are super important. But you can only do so much from reading a book and taking a test. And so getting this time to come in for a full year, really integrate yourself into a community and apply all of that stuff that you've been hearing about and learning about, it makes it take on a whole other meaning. And it becomes a lot more difficult than, just answering a question on a test. So I think both are extremely necessary and extremely useful, and that they kind of go hand in hand. I think one of the things we're doing really well is the amount of stuff that we have for people to do. There's just so many different ministries, so many different groups and Bible studies and all these different things that people can come in and get involved in. And I think that's so important. If you only have one or two things and that's not what a person's interested in, then they can kind of get lost, in the shuffle of such a giant cathedral, right? But when you have all these different options of things people can gravitate towards, there's something here for everybody. And that helps really shrink down the community and make people feel more welcome and more integrated. And I think that's an amazing thing that the cathedral is doing. I hope it honestly continues to grow. Not necessarily in numbers. I mean, if numbers would be great. Like I said, we already have so many different ministries, but there's still more things. I know there's so many people who have different ideas about, hey, let's try to start this group, or hey, let's try to do a meeting about this, right? And I think we have room for all of that in the church. And so I would love to see us grow even more and start expanding who we reach. There's a lot of people that only see me maybe on Sunday Mass. And so finding different ways to pull them in, finding different things they're interested in to keep them more involved, and to just, make our community even more close would be an amazing thing to see grow in the future. So after this, I'll have a couple weeks of a break, and then I head into my summer assignment, which will be hospital ministry at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, Eggleston. So I'll be doing that for the whole summer up until August, when I head back to seminary for my next year of studies. After my next full year of studies down at Notre Dame, God willing, I will be ordained deacon, and then have one more year of finishing up studies and ministry after that, before, God willing, priesthood. It has been a blessing being here this year at the cathedral. I've learned a whole lot. I think I've grown a whole lot in my formation as a man, as a Catholic, and as a seminarian, and God willing, one day as a priest. I wanted to thank you all so much for welcoming me into this community, for joining me on my journey, for letting me come into your lives. I will miss all of you, and I will be praying for all of you throughout my time in seminary and beyond. So thank you so much.